How's it going today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day so far. So what we're going to be talking about in this video today is this saying that we hear all the time, that the average millionaire has 7 different streams or sources of income. And what we're going to do is talk about the 7 different types of income out there and whether or not every single millionaire has each of these income streams. So basically what this saying shows us here is that the average millionaire out there is well diversified in their income streams, meaning that they are deriving income from multiple different sources. Meanwhile, the average poor person or broke person or even your average Joe has just one source of income that comes from the job. And we all know that job is an acronym for just over broke. So jobs keep you in your comfort zone. It's just enough money to keep you showing up every day, but never enough money to really get ahead. And you're kind of stuck in this trap of life of having one income source and ultimately having your boss or your employer being the master of your life, controlling whatever it is that you do. Now, here's where you run into trouble as the person with one source of income versus the person with 7, is if the average person loses their source of income, they now have no income. They have no other ways that they're earning money, and all of a sudden, they're relying solely on their savings. Whereas the average millionaire who has 7 different income sources, if they lose one of their income sources, they have these other 6 income sources to offset that loss, meaning that they're still going to be earning money. Because the truth is, shit happens at the end of the day. Maybe this real estate investor, one of the properties ends up going sour, they get a bad tenant, and they don't make any money from that year, but they have many other properties to offset that loss. And maybe, you're the employee and you get laid off from your job. I guess unemployment could be your second source of income, but it's going to be a pretty lousy one. So that's the problem that you run into, and that is why being diversified in your income streams is so important. But this actually goes above and beyond a problem of just not having enough different income streams in case you lose one. What this actually goes into here is that a lot of these income streams are better than others. Not every income source or stream is created equally, and unfortunately where most people are, which is earned income, is the highest category in terms of taxes. You're going to pay the maximum taxes on your income in this category. There are very few deductions. There are very few tax breaks. You're taxed at that highest rate possible. So not only is the average millionaire diversified in their income streams, but they're also taking advantage of countless tax breaks, benefits, tax incentives that we're going to get into a little bit as we identify what each of these income streams are and how they benefit the person who earns these different income streams. So number 1 on the list is where pretty much everybody starts. Everybody starts here. Most people stay here. The few people who leave this category often are the ones who become the millionaires. But number 1 is earned income. This is the income from your job or the activity. It doesn't necessarily have to be the job that you have. It could also be the job that you own, in terms of if you own a business that's just a job. So if you're like a painter, for example, I would still classify that as earned income, but you might argue that maybe that would count as profit income. But it's pretty much owning a job versus having a job. And if you guys aren't clear on that distinction, you have to check out the book, The E-Myth, which I'll go ahead and link up in the description below. Really good book on that topic. But earned income is essentially the job you have, income derived from your activity, or basically you're in a situation where time equals money. Now this category sucks for a number of reasons. Number 1, in most cases the only way to earn more money is to work more hours or beg your boss for a raise, which good luck on that. Or number 2, maybe go get a second job. But the thing is, you always have to have more time involved with this in order to be earning more money. The other thing that sucks is this is the maximum category in terms of taxes that you're paying, with very, very few deductions and tax breaks for basically people at the end of the year. You're not going to have many tax breaks there unless you're above, that standard deduction with your personal write-offs, which most of us are not. And the problem with this category is it's just comfortable enough for people to stay there. It's just enough enough money to keep you, like I said, going back to your job. It puts food on the table, but it's certainly not a life that a lot of us want or the ones that we dream for. And so it's really these other categories of income that are ultimately going to get you what you're looking for. Number 2, we have dividend income, and this is income derived primarily from the stock market, but you may also see dividend income from types of real estate investments. So for example, I have an investment with Fundrise, which is a crowdfunded real estate investing platform, and I earn dividends from that as well. So that's the 2 areas that I'm earning dividends, is number 1 through the stock market and number 2 through some different types of real estate investments. But dividend income is essentially money that you're receiving from a investment. So if you invest in a company and they're doing well and they're turning a profit, they're going to share a portion of that profit with the shareholders, one of them being you. And in that case, you're going to receive those dividend checks. And dividend income has a huge advantage here, and that is the fact that you can have your dividends classified as a qualified dividend. So qualified dividends, that's a little bit above and beyond the scope of this video. If you guys want to do more research on that, you can go ahead and do that. But basically, if your dividend income falls into this category of a qualified dividend, the tax rate on that income is capped at just 20%. So the maximum tax rate for earned income is 37%, and the maximum tax rate for dividend income is just 20%. So there's a massive tax advantage here to earning dividend income as opposed to just earned income from your job. And the other thing about earned income is it doesn't matter if you're the garbage man or if you're a surgeon, you're still in that category of earned income. There's better forms of it than others, but you're still actively working for every dollar you're earning and paying the maximum possible tax rate. Number 3, the third type of income is called interest income. It's not very flashy, not very exciting. Basically, it's when your money is making you money. You stick your money in the bank, and as a result, you earn interest. Now, most people may not even be familiar that this is an income source because it's so insignificant, because the average checking and savings accounts in the US pay like 0.05% interest. But for me, for example, I use Ally Bank. It's pretty popular with a 2.2% rate. And so that actually is a significant amount of income at the end of the year when you have a large amount deposited. But that is called interest income. There are no real tax breaks or incentives with that. It's just earning income from the money that you set aside, primarily from the bank. Now, the pros of this income source is that, yes, it's 100% passive, just like dividend income. Banks are FDIC insured, meaning that your deposits are insured in case that bank were to go insolvent. And then third of all, you have liquidity or easy access to your money. So if you need to withdraw money for a purchase or emergency or anything like that, you can literally just go to the bank and have quick, easy access to your money. Number 4, we have royalty income, which is another uncommon source of income. Personally, I don't know anybody earning this. I don't think most millionaires are making royalty income unless it's Justin Bieber or some other musical artist or something like that. Basically, royalty income is income derived from someone else using your intellectual property. Now, this could be something like your artwork, this could be music, photography, or it could be some kind of patent that you're licensing out, but is essentially something that you've created, an idea or something that you own, and you're licensing it out or giving it, and you're giving other people permission to use that, and as a result, you're earning some kind of small percentage or royalty on their use of that property or item. And there aren't really any tax breaks here for royalty income. It's relatively uncommon. It's going to be taxed at your ordinary income tax rate or whatever you're being taxed on for your earned income. Number 5, we have capital gains. This is a huge category for the top 1% or the millionaires out there. And capital gains is essentially asset appreciation. It's buying something today and selling it for a higher price tomorrow. And there are so many different tax breaks in this category for people to take advantage of. And the main 2 areas where people are capitalizing on this capital gains is number 1, the stock market, buying stocks and then selling them for a higher price down the road. And then number 2, real estate. These are 2 things that tend to appreciate in value over time. And it's 2 things that have been making people millionaires for decades, if not centuries. So just to give you guys an idea of some of these tax breaks here, number one, you have the long-term capital gains tax rate, which is capped at just 20% as opposed to the 37% of earned income. So the stock market, for example, if you hold a stock for longer than 1 year in terms of when you bought it and when you sold it, you can recognize that capital gain as a long-term capital gain, and it's going to be taxed at a significantly lower rate. Another example of this in terms of real estate is a tax law called the main home exclusion, which essentially makes some homeowners exempt from paying capital gains tax if you sell your primary residence. So if your primary residence goes up in value while you own it and you meet whatever those requirements are, you may not have to pay any taxes on those capital gains. And then the final one we have here in terms of real estate is a popular one called the 1031 exchange. Essentially, if you sell a piece of real estate and then buy a like kind of real estate, you can roll the capital gains into that property without paying any taxes as long as you meet certain requirements. So there's all kinds of tax breaks and loopholes and things you can do when you're in the category of capital gains, as well as dividend income with your long-term capital gains, things you're not going to see in that earned income category. Number 6, we have my favorite category where I am, and that is profit income. That is being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. There are so many write-offs, tax incentives here, it's unbelievable. First of all, if you own a home or you rent or you live somewhere and you're paying for that housing and you have a home office, all of a sudden you can write off a portion of your living space, a portion of your heating bill, a portion of your electrical bill towards your home office. If you're taking trips to the store and you're buying office supplies, you can write off the mileage. If you're traveling for work, you can write it off. Obviously, you guys have to talk to a tax advisor about these things in terms of write-offs, but what I will tell you is that this is the category where I have found the most write-offs and the most tax incentives is being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. This is the best category to be in my opinion. And in terms of tax breaks, just one example to share with you, one that I did this year, it's called the S-Corp election. Obviously, I am an LLC, Scribner Media LLC, but I have elected to be treated as an S-Corp, meaning that I am the sole employee of my business and I'm electing to be treated as a corporation. And that election alone, plus a couple of other hoops I had to jump through, saved me about $20,000 in taxes in 2018. So there's all kinds of different loopholes, incentives, whatever you want to call them, that you're going to have access to when you begin earning profit income as an entrepreneur. And then number 7, this is another huge category that millionaires absolutely love. That is rental income, income from renting out real estate that you own. There are so many incentives here. As a landlord, there are a ton of different write-offs. You can write off any repairs, you can write off taxes, utilities, travel, all kinds of different things. And then on top of that, there's another huge incentive called depreciation, which is essentially writing off a portion of the value of that home as that asset depreciates. So between those two things, there are massive incentives to owning real estate, and this is a way that people are able to take their income, their earned income, and move it into real estate without paying any taxes. That's why people like Trump pay very little in taxes, because they understand how the system works, how they can funnel money into real estate, do things with depreciation on the back end that nobody understands, and then virtually pay nothing in taxes. It's by using, these systems that are in place that basically, it's not necessarily fair, but that's just the way it is. And those who understand the rules will end up, winning this game here of making money. But anyways, guys, those are the 7 different types of income that you earn. And the last thing I want to mention here is that not every millionaire is going to be in every single category here. You're not going to find a lot of millionaires out there earning royalty income. And maybe somebody's a millionaire because they're a business owner and they don't own real estate. But what you may also find is that you may find a millionaire who has 3 or 4 different streams of rental income because they have multiple different buildings, or they have a couple different sources of profit income because they own multiple businesses. So you could have multiple businesses earning you money or multiple properties. You don't necessarily have to have all of these different income sources. And the second thing I want to mention here is that millionaires build these things over time. You don't try to build 7 sources of income at once. You build one at a time, and then you figure out what the second one is going to be. You don't build them all at once. That's going to result in you basically burning out and likely failing in that attempt. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.